So the file system is the part of the operating system that abstracts away the actual details of file storage. And so it maps this sort of logical to actual hardware mapping. And it also manages the metadata, all of the data about the files that are stored in a data structure called inodes. So file systems have to be mounted. So there's in a Unix or Linux-based operating system, you will have a single root of the file system, which is just /, and then you use the mount utility to add others into that file system. And so you'd have a file system that's mounted to a particular mount point in the root file system. You don't normally do this manually. Normally this is done automatically by the operating system when you boot it, and there's a particular configuration file that controls that. You can use the df utility to view all the mounted file systems. I would encourage you to try this on Stu. You can see all of the file systems that are mounted on that machine, including the file system that has your home directory. And some of those file systems are actually mounted from another machine. And this is done using a system called the networked file system, or NFS. And if you take 470, you'll talk a little bit more about how this works. So most Linux systems use something that's called the file system hierarchy standard, which is sort of the standard layout of files on a Linux system. So there is a directory for binary files, and then configuration files, and home directories, and so forth. We'll make the distinction between absolute and relative path names. Hopefully you've seen this before, but just in case you haven't, an absolute file name is the path from the root. So beginning up at the very top of the file system hierarchy and then sort of descending down to where the file is. A relative path is the path to a particular file from some other particular place on the system, usually from the place where you currently are, or your current working directory. So here's an example. So here we have a folder called SAM, which is one of the users of the system. So what is the absolute file name for the SAM folder? So pause the video and see if you can write this down in maybe Notepad or on a piece of paper. Okay, so we're asking for the absolute path name, which means we start from the root. So the first folder is going to be the root folder, and then home, and then SAM. So that is the absolute path name for that folder on the system. So a follow-up question is, suppose that we're in the AN folder, so you can see that AN is another user on this system. What would be the relative path name for the SAM folder from the AN folder? So again, pause the video and see if you can write this down. Okay, so starting in AN, we'll need to go up to AN's parent, which is the home directory. So that's going to be ... to get up to the parent directory. And then SAM is directly in that folder. So the relative path name is going to be ... /SAM. Okay, so here's another pair of questions. So what is the absolute file name for the dot utility? So take a second and see if you can find that in this file system and figure out the absolute path name for that utility. Okay, so hopefully you found the dot utility. It's down here. It's inside of /user/bin/dot. So that is the absolute path name for the dot utility. But let's suppose we were in the AN folder and we wanted to run the dot utility, and let's suppose that this folder wasn't in our path. So how might we run this command using its relative path name from the AN folder? So again, pause the video and see if you can figure out what that would be. Okay, so we're in the AN folder, which means that we are going to need to go up to the home folder. So that's ... like we did before. But we need to go up again because we can't go directly from home to user. We need to go up to its parent, which is the /, and then we can go down to user bin dot. So the full relative path name here, the shortest relative path name anyway, is going to be ... /user/bin/dot.